Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of Spiritual Spiral. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I feel like this is episode 15, 16. I don't even know. We're so excited, though. And of course, I am your host, Sam Davidson, with my good friend, Sari Cohen. And this week, you guys, we have Steffi Hill, who is so cool. I've been stoked to interview her for like a month now. She does human design, past life regression, mediumship, spiritual healing. She basically does it all, and she's a creative in Los Angeles. And I know that you write and do other like cool stuff in the entertainment industry. So welcome. How are you?
Hi. Oh my gosh, thanks for the lovely intro. I'm so stoked to talk to both of you. Spiritual wanderers, wanderlust.
Yes.
What do you associate as?
We're just spiritual groupies at this point, I think.
Okay, spiritual groupies. I like wanderlust. Let's
I
like
do
coin
too.
that.
I used that word today, actually.
That's probably why I
that's
channeled it.
really
That makes total sense.
I actually used that word today. It's in my Insta story right now. If you go back and look at
Oh, creepy. Okay, well, not creepy. Spirit that said that's your name.
it's
Well,
the one, yes.
So you do so much, and I want to hear your story about kind of your first experience where you knew you felt something or you had something, and what that was like exploring and discovering what it was.
Oh gosh. Well, I've never known anything but this life. This life chose me, not I chose it. But I mean, early on in my life, I was seeing ghosts very early. I mean, 5, 6 years old. And then I'd walk into a room and start talking to like my parents and saying like, oh, so-and-so's here. They're like, what? And then they turn around and be so creeped out. And it wasn't until I was 13, 14 years old, I had a pretty bad/good awakening that I helped a soul cross over. So that's when I realized I was for sure a medium. But then the intuition hits happened really strongly when I was 18. And then throughout my life, I've learned to curate the gift, so to speak.
Wow, that must have been scary.
Yes and no. I mean, like there are some times where I'm just hanging out and a spirit will pass through like to the next room or something. And I'm like, okay, I don't see ghosts as much anymore, but growing up, that was always they're like, do you guys see that too? But no one ever would. So I was like, okay, cool. It's just when they come at night is the freakiest because that's like you wake up in the middle of the night and they're just at your, bedside and you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. How did you differentiate as a child? Like, how did you know what you were seeing was not of this world?
I think I mean, I don't know how to say, like, did my parents gaslight me? I don't know. Maybe. But they definitely, I mean, we're skeptics, still are to this day. But I think
Really?
it was more so, it kept happening and the things I was saying were true to what I was seeing. Like I was, for example, there was a neighbor that had a really tragic death and she kept on visiting me, and I finally started asking like my uncle, I'm like, about it, and he was like, how did you know that about her? I mean, I was 13, so I had no idea any of this information. So I think when it started to ring true, I really started to realize, okay, this is the truth.
Yeah. Oh man, it's just funny because when I was little, I still think I definitely have gifts and stuff that I'm now learning. I think this is finally my time where like I'm not as afraid anymore. This show's probably helping me. But when I was a kid, I wasn't afraid of the boogeyman or of like murderers, coming. I was afraid of ghosts. Like that I knew they existed 100%, and that was my biggest fear. It wasn't someone taking me, it was ghosts. Which is, just I find it fascinating because now I'm like, okay, maybe if I want to see, nope, go away. I'm too scared. I'm still scared. So yeah, I mean, it's just, and now it's 2020, and when you are giving a mediumship reading to somebody and you are trying to channel a loved one, how do you see them and how do you hear them?
So I am clairaudient and clairsentient. So I actually hear what they're saying through just like you and I are having a conversation now. And then I usually feel either how they crossed, if it's like my throat hurts, or maybe they died of throat cancer, or if they were in a car accident, I feel like something blunt to my head. But again, they don't feel anything anymore. They didn't feel anything at their death. They're just kind of conveying that to me so I can say the message to the person I'm channeling for. But I think there's so many different ways that you can be intuitive, and clairvoyance is like the biggest one, I think, where it's just in your mind's eye. So I think that's also really important on your both of your journeys, how to tap into your intuition. So do you hear, do you smell, do you see, like what's your strongest sense? So mine is feel and auditory.
You know, I have like for a while and stuff heard a buzzing in my ears, and sometimes and it sounded like I was an old person with a hearing aid, kind of like adjusting it, because that's what I used to hear when my grandparents were old and they would adjust their hearing aid, and so I hear that sometimes, like quite a bit, and now I kind of know what that means. And I was telling you before this, I got a human design reading done recently, and she said at the end, like, she said, your gifts are really like, just as a friend, like, don't be afraid, you can call me, but this is all coming to light right now for a reason. And I have just been like, I was laying in bed the other day and I put my head down and I heard something, and it wasn't the buzzing anymore. It was just kind of a different kind of noise. And I was like, what's going on? And then I put my head up and the noise stopped. And then I put my head down and it would start again. And I'm like, something really weird is going on here. And it happened right after she told me that. So I'm like, okay, like I'm just going to pay attention. But I feel like there's definitely something going on with my ears, or I have a hearing problem. So who knows?
No, I think they're trying to communicate, and that's the way they're starting, is through sounds and pitches, which is frequency. Think about it.
Yeah.
So that's very cool.
Yeah.
Be excited for that.
Yeah, I am I'd rather it be hearing than someone just like appearing in front of me. Like,
yes, I think you have to make it very clear with your boundaries. I think when I was younger, I didn't really understand how to say, no, I don't want to see that. But you absolutely can be like, yo, get out. I've chased a ghost up the stairs, but like, get the fuck out, bitch. Like, goodbye. But now I don't see them as much. But you definitely, it's your life, and they won't expend energy, as an apparition or moving stuff or scaring you, unless it's a poltergeist or the place is haunted. But they don't want to scare you without your permission, really.
how often does that really happen?
Oh gosh. I mean, I probably more than you think, but also not that common.
Yeah.
That answer wasn't really solid, but I mean, I hear it all the time because people are talking to me, but there are certain areas and houses that are haunted. Just, that's a given.
I actually had two really big losses this week.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, just like when actually Sam was even asking me, she's like, do you want to do the show today? And I was like, I actually really do. I think it's important, and I want to be here, and I want to be with you, and I want to be. So when you are doing a reading for someone, how do you explain to them the idea of crossing over or transitioning, or just letting people know where their loved ones are, how they're doing?
Oh, my heart, I feel for you. I definitely do. I've also suffered some loss this year, and it's been really tough. But I think the most comforting thing is that we are souls. Bodies are just given to us we're renting them, right? So energy never dies, and that's just like quantum physics, which I believe you guys talked about in some of your shows.
Right.
Energy continues on, and I think it's so we're the ones who have the problems with grief and discomfort, because once they've crossed over, they're in their highest being, their highest state, and you evolve at such a great pace on the other side that you're ready to come back down, have experiences, but they're there, like they're guiding you and leading you. But it's really about you just knowing that they are still here in some sort of form. It's just not physical. So I always like to tell my clients, and it's really hard always, oh my gosh, my poor babe. I'm so here with you. I like to tell my clients too, it's so hard right when things happen for you to understand and get messages right away. So just be really open and listening and looking for signs from spirit. That comes in so many forms. That can come in animals, angel numbers like 911, 1111, 1212, whatever your number is. And sometimes too, like you can feel them with you, like a loving arm presence. So they're always, always, always going to be with you. And I know that sounds cliche, but I promise you. And, eventually I think you'll be able to communicate with them, or we can help you, talk to them again.
Yeah. Now you have like so many people, Sarah, that, because I remember so my dad passed like a year and a half ago or so, and he was sick for a few years, but when he first got really sick and he thought he was going to die a lot sooner, I started getting really into mediums, like obsessed and going to all these readings, and he told me, he's like, this is great because like now we can talk.
Oh.
But he kind of set me up for a bit of failure because like as he was dying and he had cancer, and I was just like, it's all right, Dad, I got this, I know the line to call, like we're going to be able to have this communication, I have all these mediums I know. And he actually, I'm pretty sure, really struggled with his crossing over.
Mm.
And that all, and then I had an ex-boyfriend that died, and a medium told me he had a hard time. And so how does that work? Like people crossing over. I feel like Sari's family, Sari is like the purest person ever, and they're probably
I
like
can tell.
welcomed in the light immediately. But my family's like, you got some work to
They
do.
want to hang on.
Yeah, they want to hang on, and they're very stubborn. So like, have you ever had an experience where spirit didn't want to cross over? Like, how did you help them?
Well, yes. I also like to call it the cocoon phase. That's what they show me when they show me. So I have very, very close friends that call me right when someone passes, like the day of or the week of, and they're so desperate for communication. And I, if I can tap in, I will obviously give them the message. But there are sometimes too where I'm like, they're in the cocoon phase, which means, once you cross over, you really have to have a lot of reflection on your life, and you're not ready to communicate right away. It's not like you just like pop in. You have to reflect on your life, and you have to like heal, especially if it's cancer, by the way, or any type of long sickness. On the other side, they are almost this like healing, loving light cocoons them and wraps them in this warm blanket, and they're like finally getting a spa day they deserve. Like their body is finally recuperating, and they're not ready to. And also, they're giving you the space and time you need to heal too. I have spirits that I feel are like in the back, and they're coming, they're apprehensive, and they're like, ooh, I don't know if I should, I don't know. And I think that's also because like they want you to be really ready. So a lot of times my most successful sessions will be, I really want to hear from my mom, I want to hear from my dad, but it's like I'm just open for any messages from spirit. It could be about my job, this and that, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, your mom's coming through. So I think that's the most important thing, is for us to, they want us to move on with our lives. They want us to heal and evolve until we can meet them again, and then we can reincarnate, which we'll talk about, into another life together. So that's not the end of the road. When you are if they do have a difficult crossing over, that's, they will be swept away, they will be cocooned, and that's kind of like the, I guess, remission period where they're healing. So
Mhm.
that's probably what you felt. Like you felt like the line got cut, and you're like, I felt you, but I don't feel you. So that's probably what's happening, in
Yeah.
my opinion, at least.
Yeah. No, I mean, I felt like that for longer than, because when my grandparents died, they were the first people that I knew that were super close to me, to die. And my mom would want to go right away to the medium, and they were like, no, she's not ready yet, your mom's not ready yet. But then she was. But then when my dad passed, it took a while. I was like, I don't feel him, like I don't feel anything. And
Mm-hmm.
it was, I think in general there was like a lot of healing on both of our parts that needed to happen. um
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah, but speaking of past lives, because I know this is something that you really specialize in, something that's been hard for me to wrap my head around is, so my dad definitely believed in
Let's hear
past lives. Yeah, and he would say, in a past life I could have been your son and you could have been my mother, and he really believed it. But I'm really stuck in time, so I'm like, okay, so are we all waiting around in heaven or wherever on the other side until all of our core circle, spirit circle, whatever you call it, passes on, so then we could do it together? Or are people like piecing out, before? So it's like, if I have a family member that I want to communicate with through a medium, but they already have started their next life, like that sucks. How does that work? Like,
First of all, I mean, that's such a loaded question because time really isn't linear. We
exactly.
as humans think time is time, like 90, living to 90, 100 years. But most of the time, your soul group does wait for you. And it sounds like you're like, come on, die already. I'm waiting for you. We need to go into another life. And that's not necessarily how it works. Like you are, time, it doesn't exist in that plane. It's just like all of a sudden you're reunited and reconnected. We make time such an obstacle, and we make it so hard and challenging when honestly it shouldn't be. So I think that should be a blessed, time is a blessing in our lives, not necessarily, a bad thing. But we, think of it as some like horrible waiting around. But in spirit, time doesn't exist.
I like that.
Yeah. So do you choose going back into, say you are choosing to enter back into another life with your soul circle? Do you think you get to choose what roles you play? Like, does mother become daughter? Does sister become aunt? Like, how does that?
Yes, absolutely. You have contracts. It's not like you shake hands and you're like, yep, but you have like an actual talk. So basically, what happens is you have your soul group, and a lot of people in your life, like I'm sure you two were together in a past life. I can guarantee that.
Oh, I
Um,
think so
a
too.
lot of people you meet, even like the mailman or a neighbor and stuff like that, they have small influences. No one is a coincidence.
Mhm.
But you kind of do like a relationship review and say, this worked, this didn't. And honestly, some of our soulmates are people that we hate. So that's actually another thing where you have to work on the karma that happened between you. But there are easy relationships where it's like things just flow, and those are the peaceful relationships where obviously like you've incarnated to help each other in this lifetime.
Mm.
Yeah, it's because past lives are something that I think both Sari and I can agree that we've had a bit of a hard time wrapping our heads around. Just because sometimes it's like, whoa, that's crazy. I was told once that I had a past life with like an ex-friend. We weren't friends anymore, and we used to be kind of like business partners, and that, you know, we were assassins together, and we ended up like making a lot of money, having so much fun, and then I wanted to
Mm.
pull out of it, and I felt guilty. And then we ended up like murdering each other, and I was like, whoa, that's pretty.
Does that resonate with you?
I really still like don't like him, and I think he's crazy. So I mean, in a way, yeah, because he would start like there was a part of him that I thought had like a lot of darkness to him, and it started to freak me out. So I mean, a little bit, but also saying it sounds so like completely crazy.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical, my opinion, of other people telling you about your past lives because that's not, you can't really prove I mean, I guess you can't really prove anything about past life, but I like to be like the midwife where I like to hold the regression and I hold space for people and then I guide them along the way, but they're the ones ultimately coming up with their own subconscious thoughts that are coming forward. And then afterwards I could do channeling and I can kind of tell you what I felt and saw. But someone just being like, yo, you died from like eating a mushroom and it was sad and you died in the 1800s, you could be like, oh my god, that's, but that doesn't make any sense really. But for you it could make sense. I'm not doubting anyone else's gifts, like I totally believe that can happen,
Mhm.
but I like my clients to come up with their observations through their own
Mhm.
subconscious.
So do you just sit there? Like, do you have them take ayahuasca? Like, is it that kind of thing? I
No
mean,
drugs, no drugs. It sounds fun. No, I'm not like a
not a
shaman.
shaman. Yeah,
I'd
that
love to get there, but not, no.
no,
No,
that absolutely scares the shit out of me. Everyone's
oh,
like,
Oh.
you should
yeah.
do it. And I'm like, oh, so I can sit there and throw up and like cry my eyes out and be terrified for like
And then
6 hours.
see all kinds of,
God.
yeah, exactly. And be in like Guatemala where you're not home and like on a
Mhm.
sheet rock or something. Yeah, it's like, sounds terrifying, but I'm so for people doing that. Not for me in this lifetime. So I've already probably done it. But yeah, no, so it's actually really gentle. It's just a guided meditation in person. I mean, before
Mhm.
COVID, before this all went down. Um, so the person just lays down, and I actually do some Reiki on some, just right before we start, seeing if there's any blockages. And then I will just walk them gently through a guided meditation that has a lot of imagery. And then ultimately they enter the past life. And then I intuitively am channeling what questions to ask them to get to where they need to go. So I'm also seeing a little bit of their scene, but I'm also just connecting with their spirit guides. So it's like a big bubble aura protection field that I'm basically helping, like I'm the cock block of any like negative things going on, but I'm also like the midwife where I'm like birthing, this is what my friend described it. She's like, you're birthing their experience. I'm like, yeah. So that's kind of what happened.
That's really
I was
cool.
listening to that podcast.
Oh, you did? Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah,
So
that's what my friend, she's like, you're like the midwife. And I was like, okay. But what's really cool is when you go into the past life, because we really take on different things of past lives. If it's like subconscious deaths or fears or phobias,
mhm.
that can translate over. So when you're in the lifetime, I can feel where you kind of need to get energy released in those areas.
Mm.
Wow. Sarah, what are you thinking?
I love it. Well, I love the description of like, the reincarnation, the midwife. I just have this whole visual of like this really peaceful awakening happening. I think that's fantastic. I think that's incredible. I'm wondering, how are you doing it in the time of COVID now, not being able to be in person with people, or you're having to do it virtually? Like, has that changed the way you do things?
Oh my gosh, such a good question, Sarah. Because yes, the weird thing is I had this intuitive hit that I needed to record a past life regression meditation, and also because I'm in Los Angeles and a lot of clients are people from Australia and Europe and wanting to connect to their past lives. So I actually recorded a past life regression. I got it produced, and I had it. My friend who's very intuitive score it. So it's actually close to 40 minutes. And then I also have intuitive journal prompts that you can go through and kind of like pick up what you needed to pick up. And that's how I'm doing it via COVID.
Wow.
Wow, that's so cool.
But you both have to try.
I know. I definitely actually really, really want to. I'm so interested. Well, actually, this is kind of just did you guys ever watch Lost, the TV show?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
yeah, I was really bad with that.
But I've heard about it.
Yeah, so spoiler alert, just because you know how everyone kind of has their own awakening, like they could be told something a million times and they're like, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. And then they could just see one thing, whether it's a movie or a TV show or reading a book or just talking to someone, and all of a sudden you understand it. So everyone hated the series finale of Lost. And so if you haven't seen it, it'll be a minute. I really liked it because basically what I interpreted from it was that all of these people that were on this initial plane crash that got deserted to this island were in the same soul group. And in the series finale, like all of the actors, all of the characters that had died somewhere along the line that were on this initial plane, they were like in a church waiting for the last person, like the lead character, after he's old and he dies of natural causes. Like they were all waiting there in a way together to like go over.
Oh, I just got chills.
I know. And and I tell people that, they're like, that's not what happened. And I'm like, I don't know, but that's how I saw it. And I kind of like that. Like it was, I mean, how big can your soul group really be?
Huge. It can be very huge. I mean, every single little small interaction can be from past life. And by the way, your past lives don't always overlap. I mean, you guys could have been together in one lifetime, thousands of years ago, but not ago's. Cool. But you could have been together in some lifetimes, or maybe just one lifetime, whatever it is. There are some people that you reincarnate with every time, or some people that take a step back. So it's hard to say.
I'm wondering.
Oh, go ahead, Sarah.
I was going to say, I'm wondering, okay, so I'm thinking like soulmates, and I'm thinking like in obviously soulmates means so many different things, like it's souls that you're connected to, but I'm thinking of like, are there ever instances where you will have like a love interest of somebody that you feel is your soulmate, but they're probably somebody that you are hanging on to from like a past?
Oh, yeah, almost every lover I've had.
Like, why am I holding on to this one?
Yeah,
so
no, I mean, romantic relationships are where we learn the most lessons in our soul path. Even the pretty like terrible toxic ones, but sometimes they're not soulmates; they're just there for a lesson. But yeah, I had like one in particular boyfriend that it was just really instant connection, and I found out through a past life regression that I was actually his grandmother in a past life.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of karmic lessons there, because I mean it's a little bit of a longer story, but what happened was he had died in my arms, and he did something I specifically told him not to do. He was a young boy, and we were both Native American, and he basically got into a cross arrow. It was like a wrong place, wrong time, but an arrow, they were shooting archery practicing, and he got hit, and he wasn't supposed to be there, and I told him not to. And so he died in my arms. And then in this lifetime, I was like trying so hard to like always tell him what to do in this very motherly, but like instinctive maternal way.
Yeah.
And it was a very loving way. But then I realized, I was like, when I found out he was my grandson, I was like, yo, I need to let him go. Like, which is so creepy, but
like
Sorry.
did you do like a reading to yourself, or did someone else, are you able to do that on your own to yourself?
Yes, I do it through my own meditation, and I've connected to my spirit guides years ago, so they lead me through the regression. And then I listen to my own past life, which is creepy because I don't like to hear my own voice. But and when you get into, it's called a theta state, which is when you're in between, it's like right before you drift off to sleep. That's the state you're in when you do a past life regression. So you're still fully awake, but you're really hallucinating through your mind's eye. So yeah, you can get there through meditation or guided meditation.
Mm-hmm. And so someone told me, like, I have a friend that I've been friends with since I was 2, and we looked like identical when we were little. It was creepy. And our parents were like we were 2, we found each other in like a little like daycare. And then our moms were like, holy shit, like these 2 girls look so similar. We're used to submit each other to twin competitions. Like we were like really like attached at the hip. And then, as we got older, I kind of started to become more of like a goody two shoes in a way. She started to become more of this like wild child. And like we've had these ongoing issues our whole life. Like we're not talking right now. We'll probably talk again one day. It's one of those things. And I had someone tell me that I was her mother in a past life. And that's why it really pisses her off when I tell her like what to do or something.
Yes, that's exactly. So your karma is letting her be who she is, and she needs to come to you.
Yeah. So I mean, it's like with your ex that you were talking about, how do you make sure that you guys fulfill your contract with each other?
That one's tough because I feel that's the one relationship I do feel like there's a little more karma to sort out. But it, I mean, you have to just keep coming back to get it right, unfortunately. But the best you can do is just show up authentically as yourself and not force or push anything, because I think our past lives, we want to recorrect and we want to get it right. When people say you're an old soul, like, oh, you're an old soul, it's like that's a compliment, but also not, because you're like, dude, like you keep messing up. Whereas new souls come to life and they're just like, oh, cool, like shiny and new, and they're the ones that jump off cliffs and then sometimes make it and sometimes don't, but they're like, whatever. But like I would not even go like 7,000 feet of a cliff because I'm like, I die. Have to show up as yourself.
Yeah.
And really having the awareness, like even you two having the awareness right now is the ultimate like first step into understanding. So I think the more and more you know about your past lives will inform this life, and I think that is like key to knowing your karma.
Yeah.
What do you think about cutting cords? Like, when is it time in those situations to really cut that cord?
I believe in cutting cords all the time, even if it's not a soulmate relationship, because people will latch on. And I do ceremonial cutting cord sessions where I actually am, but I think people come into your life for a season or reason in a lifetime, and the ones that aren't like truly helping you propel forward and there's a lot of friction, it's time to cut the cord. So I like truly believe that when people are in your life right now, exactly at this moment, for an exact reason, and if they're not, it's like gracefully time to let them go.
And that's really one of the hardest things, especially with family members, because we're told, and like Sarah and I are Jewish, and, I feel like such a thing is like family is everything, like you remember your old grandpa, like, it's
Like your accent, how you just did that, Sam. Family is everything. Channeling the old Jew.
Exactly. But, it's also, and in therapy, I've learned this, and my therapist really, he thinks it's fascinating. I believe in this stuff. And I kind of see him like, okay, whatever, I love that you're interested in that. But he says so many similar things to me that, light workers like you do. So as far as family, when you know that you can't, it's not like positive anymore, there's a lot of friction, like what do you do? And what were they, how can you figure out what they were in a past life and why this is happening? Like, is it happening because of friction in a past life?
Yes, most importantly, yes, there is friction in a past life that you just subconsciously feel. I can talk on this personally because in my past life, one of my family members murdered me. Murdered me and another family member, and we were all together to sort it out. But the karma in this lifetime is me not submitting to him, not falling into his, I guess, wickedness in a way. So once I truly finally severed that cord, and it is a very close family member, by the way, once I severed that cord, my life shifted in such a beautiful way, and I was actually able to open my business as a psychic medium because of this shift. I have the awareness that he murdered me, and I know that my karma is to cut the cord, aka not talk to him again in this lifetime. It is so painful with family members, and maybe, you know, after time you can reconcile the relationship and the karma, but you have to do your part too to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's hard.
So what is your favorite part about being a psychic medium, or about all of your gifts? Like, what do you love most about what you can do?
I mean, doing this, like connecting with other
Mm.
people and helping them on their spiritual journeys, that's why I'm here. I think everyone is intuitive. You both are. And I think empowering people to make everyday decisions that are in alignment with who they truly are is one of my favorite things. I mean, I used to go up to people randomly on the street and just be like, I have a message for you. And like seeing them bawl their eyes out with tears, like in a weird, satisfying way, was like great, because they had this like awakening that wouldn't have happened if I didn't step in their life. And, you know, people were saying like, oh my God, I was talking out loud to my family members today and that who've passed. And then you've walked into my life. So that, seeing those, like even like your tears at the beginning, like, you know, there's connectedness there. You're a human being, you're feeling, you're loving, you're here, you have a heartbeat and you're breathing, so you're alive, and you have every day you can be awakened.
What is one of your most memorable, visceral, or craziest experiences, as far as, because I know that you've said in some of your interviews you've gone up to people on the street, strangers, and asked to speak to them. Like, is there one that really sticks out to you that you're like, holy shit, I had no idea that this is what I was stepping into here?
Oh, when I was single and I used to date, that was always real interesting. Really interesting. One of my favorites was, I was on a first date with this guy and we met on like an online dating thing. You know, it was like either like OkCupid. I think it was OkCupid, which I hate to out myself that I was on OkCupid, but I sure was. But we met up and then I kept on, like, it was this crazy, like intuitive hits. And I was like, I know this sounds weird, but like, I need to talk to your mom. Because his mom was like, had her brother was like channeling through so strongly, and then I kept on being like, she's seeing a bluebird every morning, this, and I was like spewing out information, and he's like texting his mom, like it's like 10 o'clock at night, he's like and sure enough, so his mom's brother had died when he was 17 and he was murdered, and I was able to know the name of the person who murdered them, but they had never had any clarity because it was like a cold case. So they never knew, but they had a suspicion. So I had guessed the name on that first date. And that is like by far one of the most like profound, I think, moments that I knew that I needed to do this for real, for real.
I just got the chills.
Wow.
Yeah, and she brought her so much peace. And every time I saw her, I mean, we broke up, but every time I saw her, she would just like grasp my hand and like not let it go. Like she was like, like shake my hand. I'm like, it's okay, you're here. But she just, and her and I probably had actually a soul connection more than him and I did. So,
And so you
yeah,
were meant to meet her. Really?
yes, I believe, just to even give her that message. And there'd be times too where I'm a freelancer in LA and I will be off to a job and I'll go to set, and I would meet someone on that exact day and I would give them a message and they'd be like, okay, you know what, we only have to cut one person, Steffi Hill, you can go home. And so I'd be like, okay, literally Spirit just drove me to frickin' Burbank in traffic to tell someone this message. Okay, cool, but whatever. I'm glad I'm here.
But I'm sure, I mean, obviously, like you were just saying, it creates these amazing relationships. Like you ended up in a relationship, you know, how many
Yeah, so all my
relationships?
best friends I've met. One of my best friends who I'm standing in her wedding and she helped me with my business. I met her through channeling on set.
See?
Yeah.
Like you said, connection.
Yeah.
I
That's
want
why
to
we're
talk
here.
a little bit about human design because so we had someone that does human design, Teresa Brenneman, on like a couple months ago. She's amazing, love her. But when we did the episode and I've re-listened, rewatched, you know, it was also new to me that I didn't exactly understand. But now since I've had my reading, I'm completely obsessed with it. Like I texted Sari, you know, my mind is blown. Like I can't stop thinking about this. I feel like because I've always felt a little misunderstood because I speak my mind, and I sometimes when I was younger, I didn't ever think it was offensive what I was saying. I just thought I'm speaking, like I am saying what I'm thinking. And then sometimes people would look at me and be like, like, yeah,
Because you're a
you're right.
projector.
Yeah, so I'm a projector. And it's like, yeah, you're right, but like zip it. And I don't like that. But the way I was explained it is that, you kind of have to, as a projector, you kind of have to be asked, or people want your opinion, and that's when you can do it. So since you are an expert in human design, can you tell us a little bit about what a projector is?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, there's human design in general for people who don't know human design, even though I know you had someone talk
Mhm.
about it, but it's a mix of astrology, I Ching, Kabbalah tree of life, and it's a mixture of these modalities to basically tap into our chakra system and how we make basically really good alignment with our everyday decisions with our body and not with our minds. Which once you find out, wait, Sari, what's your human design?
I have not done mine yet.
Doesn't
Oh,
know
I
girl.
know. I
Oh
I
my
really
gosh.
want to
Okay,
do
we'll
it.
have to do that off
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
But yeah, human design is getting out of your mind and out of your body. So you, Sam, you being a projector, projectors are here to guide and lead other people, and they know what's best for other people before they know what's best for themselves. However, they have to wait for invitations because that is how their energy and aura is truly recognized. And if you don't wait for the invitation, tell someone to do, your aura can be repelling, aka probably why your friend in the past life, aka your twin now, was like, I don't like you telling me what to do, like
Yeah.
we talked about earlier. Projectors are some of the most beautiful, wise people on earth, but they have to be truly recognized
Yeah.
first.
I know. Recognize me, peeps. Like, and ask me questions.
To- Totally. And that's, I mean, my projector friends too, I'm always trying to hype them up and see them just like they do to me all the time. Because that's the thing, like you probably do it to other people all day long. And you're like, how about me?
Yeah, no, it's funny because I am back home in Ohio for a little bit, and I saw some family, and we were all sitting outside backyard, and I was asking everyone how they were doing, and it was mostly, it was the men, the big broody men that, like, yeah, I don't, you don't have a lot in common with. I don't really like sports, I'm not going to talk politics with you. But it was, I wanted to connect with them, and they didn't ask me back, and I just sat there. I was just having a day, and
Bitter.
yeah, bitter, exactly. And I go, isn't anyone going to ask me about myself?
That's also the projector's not self theme, which means when you're not in your full alignment, you're bitter.
Yeah, well,
Whereas other types are, yeah, so that's like a huge thing.
I know.
So when you're sitting back and listening, it's a way for you to like hone your gifts and realize what your strengths are. And then ultimately, the right people in your life will ask you.
Yeah, exactly. And
How are you, Sam?
right, I'm good. Because then they go, oh, of course, sure. So what's new? And I was like, not much. And they go, yeah.
Like, I don't even care anymore to respond
Yeah.
to this. Yeah.
But then there was something about the spleen, which like I still don't understand. What is, because she was talking about my spleen and that things were coming from it, and I still don't really get what that means.
Yeah, so we all have different authorities, and your authority is how you make decisions, and that's basically the most important thing in your body. So we all have different authorities. Like, for example, my solar plexus is my strongest, which is an emotional authority. So I have to wait 24 hours before making decisions. So when you reach out, actually how we entered this was a little off of our alignments because you asked me, I was supposed to, but then I was like, hold on, I have to wait because I have a lot of stuff going on. But then ultimately I reached back out to you and invited you. So that actually we entered it properly, but I'm supposed to wait for my emotional. So splenic is actually, you kind of know right in the moment, right then and there, what's good for you. But unfortunately you have to wait for the invitation. So not unfortunately, fortunately, because that's how you're best aligned and that's how your body reacts to your stimulus. So splenic is really about, awareness, like intuitive awareness, and the splenic, is what keeps you safe, what keeps you survival. So when it's like, boom, your intuitive hits are in the now. So let's say someone says like, hey, like, do you want to go to Costa Rica? And you're like, yeah, totally. And then let's say you're getting close to the trip and you're like, oh, I feel weird about this. And I don't want to travel right now in COVID and this and that. Well, really what you decided in that moment with your spleen was the actual correct decision. But your mind can make all kinds of stories about why you're not supposed to do it.
So the initial moment when you're asked, do you want to go to Costa Rica? And I say yes.
Yes.
that is the correct answer, not, yeah.
It's called, the spleen is called in the now. So you have to know in the now. And there's so many in human design. There's 5 different energy types. So you can be a projector, a generator, a manifester, a manifesting generator, or a reflector. So there's just knowing your human design type first, aka you waiting for the invitation, is so golden. And then the second step is knowing your authority, so how you can make decisions. So all of us, it's based off your birth time and your location and date of when you're date of when you were born, and then you can look it up online or you can have a reading. I have tons of friends that do like really good human design readings. So yeah, I think it's really important. It changed my life.
Me too. I feel that way. Both of you are Cancers, by the way.
Oh, Siri, of course.
When is your birthday?
I'm 7/7.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, happy birthday! I'm
Thank
June
you. You too.
29th.
Happy. What are you? The 9th?
June 29th.
Oh, June 29th. Okay, you're a
Yep.
first deacon. So you're
Yeah.
happy belated to both of us.
Thanks to both of us.
That's so cool. 7/7. That's a pretty
7788.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
That's
angel numbers.
That's a good one.
I know when I was handed off to my mom, she was like, "This baby's gonna win the lottery." So every year, I'm like, I go and I get a lottery ticket, and I win every single year.
Oh,
$100.
Wow.
Well, one year I won like $250. So I was like, but I still win every single year I win, but it's never like big money. She
Just the
cursed me.
fact that you win. No, it's just the fact that you win.
I'll take that
what it's
$2
about.
back. Yeah, totally.
That's what it's about. That's more important than anything else.
So one of the other things you do is astrocartography. Am I saying that wrong?
Yeah, astrocartography.
What does that mean?
So that is astrology of place and relocating based on your astrology chart in the world. So I can find places on the map that are best for love, or best for business, or best for spiritual awakening based on your birth chart. So I can pick any place in the world and tell you where you're best suited, which honestly has been my most popular service during quarantine, because I can tell you what home environments make you feel safe, what community makes you feel safe, how you are in the world. So that's been like a pretty big service of mine.
And one of the things I did want to talk to you about was your feelings when quarantine started, like energetically, like visions or anything you had. Did you feel it coming? Like, how can you explain what you went through?
The problem with me, which is tough, is I get messages from my spirit guides, but when it affects me in my life, I don't get the intuitive hits. Like when people are like, how can you get pulled over? You're a psychic. I'm like, I don't, like, if I knew what was happening to me at every point of then that wouldn't be really fun game of life, right? So when quarantine started, I was like, oh shit, but I was pulling a lot of tarot cards and everything was saying like, we're in for the long haul. And then what also is tough during quarantine is, I was trying to associate what was my feelings versus the collective grief and fear I was feeling. So every time I talk to someone, I pick up on their energetic body. I pick up on what's happening. I pick up on their fears, if things are going wrong in their body. So that's been my journey. I have at the beginning had a lot of fear, tons of fear. And I think once I like sat by myself and I didn't have anyone around me for at least a couple of days, I realized like, no, this is awakening. This isn't fear. Awakening for everybody, by the way. The age of Aquarius is here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, personally, I had to leave LA like for a little because
and that's a lot of people are, and that's astrocartography reasons too. I think the collective, I think we're realizing that nothing that is, we're not settling anymore in our lives. Nothing that's mediocre can survive. So getting out of the city is so critical for our mental health right now. And I'm encouraging people to do that. And also like you guys doing this show and learning about these modalities, like keep learning, keep discovering, keep asking questions. That's how we're going to survive too, is like through connection, but also through learning about ourselves. That's really, really critical right now in our lives, because we can't be powerful for other people if we can't be powerful for ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right?
I was going to ask you, speaking of learning, how do you tap into your spirit guides? Like for somebody like me or somebody like Sam, what do we do to really tune into that?
Oh, you guys are asking me so many good questions, and we've covered so many topics already. Spiritual buffet. Um, Tapping into guides. I actually am going to develop a course on this because I've been asked this so many times, but it takes so many years of practice and study with tuning into your own intuition before you can really kind of connect with your guides. But what I will say is that your guides were assigned with you at birth, and they probably were with you in another lifetime, and they kind of decided to step out on this incarnation, and they're here guiding you along the way. They're like the most loving parents you never thought you could have. They don't annoy you. They love you. Even if you make a dumb decision and call your ex-boyfriend in the middle of the night, they're still going to love you no matter what. But they're going to subtly keep giving you like motions on how you can be better. When people rock bottom, I know this sounds awful, but when people rock bottom and come to me, I'm like, yes, your spirit guides are rock bottoming you so you can realize your potential, because you were in this shitty job, this shitty relationship, this shitty apartment, whatever it was. Like, so when people come to me, that's really their spirit guides. So I'm really talking to their spirit guides talking to me. So you just connecting to yourself and your intuition, you're already tapping into your spirit guides.
So because when I first found out what spirit guides were, I automatically was like, oh, that's my great grandmother, that's my grandmother, that's this. And then I realized, no, like you could have never been like familiar, like connected to them ancestrally at all. But can people, like, especially like, so when I was born, the same month my brother had his bar mitzvah and my grandmother died, and I've had people tell me that my grandmother and I had kind of this like soul transfer. So I do really think that she is one of my guides, but like how
Totally.
often does that, like, is it okay? Does it happen where actual family can be one of your spirit guides?
Of course, because you have more than one, and you know, you do have, after people pass away, they're kind of like already a part of your homie group up there cheering you on. I actually consider them more of like our ancient ancestors and angels, and you know, there's so many people up there. Like, we have literally a crowd full of stands of people like rooting us on, but we're in our own way. So yeah, if that resonates with you, Sam, like, I don't doubt for 1 second that your grandma is your spirit guide in any capacity. Personally though, like your two like ringleader guides are usually people that were assigned like the moment you took your first breath. They were assigned to you.
Yeah, just like it's like an angel.
Yes, very similar. But they're just like subtly guiding you. Even you, like Sari, like all the stuff that you're going through and you're asking for, like, you know, like messages from spirit, you can say to them out loud, like, hey, I want to you know, talk to someone in the form of a flower, and your spirit guides will lead you in a direction so you can see that flower, so you can know you're connecting with a loved one. So even subtly, like, you guys have probably looked at your clock and been like, oh, 11:11, right?
Sure.
And you know, it's weird, you pick up your phone and it's always the same time. Well, that you don't realize it, but your spirit guides are like, pick up the phone, you know, like they're the ones kind of leading you to that way. Of course you have free will as a human. Like, if you're going to Taco Bell, like, your spirit guides aren't being like, yeah, go to Taco Bell, you know. But unless you're going to Taco Bell and like you fall in love with like the clerk and that's your soulmate, then they're leading you to Taco Bell. I don't know.
Maybe they just wanted a Supreme Crunch wrap or something.
I mean, like, I want to go to Taco Bell so bad right now, so maybe that is my spirit guide telling me to do it.
It's okay.
I'm all for a trip to Taco Bell.
Well, lastly, I wanted to see, you know, as far as like what Sari's going through, I know it's way too soon for her to really pick up on those people, but if you had any like a mini reading, mini messages for us, whether that's just guiding us, or like any messages that you're getting from spirit for either of us.
Totally. I mean, I picked up on something early with Sarah. Have you been having difficulty taking a deep breath or like chest stuff going on?
Very much. Yes.
Yeah, so that's the first thing I noticed is it's funny, it actually feels more emotional than it actually feels physical, but it's like, I can't take a deep breath, and it's feeling like your heart chakra, which understandably so is really blocked. So for you, I would just love for you to do like more heart opening exercises and try to really relax, because your heart chakra is where you hold grief. And for you, but I feel like it's weird. I feel like this has been happening for a minute, huh? Like, when you lie down, is it worse?
Yeah, it's worse at night.
Yeah, it feels right before bed. They're telling me that like when you lay down, you're like,
it wakes me up from my
okay,
sleep. But I had
yep,
to go. Yeah, I like had to go to the doctor, and I have stuff going on. Like they diagnosed me with some things. Yeah.
okay. Well, that they're
Yeah.
saying that It's weird though. I know that you're diagnosed with stuff, but a lot of times emotional stuff can come up in physical form. You know, a lot of times that's like with cancer, anything that comes up, it's something within ourselves that we need to, and it could be part of your purpose. But yeah, it's like this part of your life needs some love, some serious love. And I actually, okay, I don't think this is going to be a lifelong thing. Did they diagnose you with something? I actually don't feel like what they diagnosed you is correct.
Yeah, I have ulcers. I have, and I've had, this is the second time that I've had them. The first, it was pleurisy. So what first happened was pleurisy, and then,
I don't even know
um,
what that is.
it's like an inflammation in the lungs. But
Oh, babe.
it started with chest pain, and I was like, oh my God, do I have COVID? Like, oh my God, what's going? And then, as it went on, like they had put me on aspirin, and I can't take aspirin. I have ulcers, and anyway, long story short, after like a month or two of dealing with this, they were like, yeah, you're riddled with ulcers. You gotta,
Mm,
you need to.
I felt that from like the second we popped on. I was like, ooh, but I was just gonna say it off air because I love that you both are vulnerable, but I was like, ooh,
Yeah,
poor girl. Like it's like it's so. And remember, I said I was clairsentient, so I could feel it. So like the whole
yeah.
time, it's like crunching, crunching, crunching.
It hurts all the
Um,
time. Yeah.
oh, well, it's not for long, but I do think you need to think about potentially getting a second diagnosis. I don't know why. I
Okay.
feel spirits saying that it's either going to go away in a little while or you might find out it's something different, but continue to really work on like heart opening exercises where you're really like
Okay.
expanding, getting rid of people and things that don't serve you. I do feel there is someone in your life that's a little negative that's hanging on, male energy.
Mm,
So yeah, think about that, learn that. They're not telling me
okay.
much else, but there is some, lungs hold grief too, by the way. So I know you're going through so much right now, but it could have even been like your intuition warning you that this was about to happen too.
Before
Yeah.
I felt it before I did. I just knew there was a lot of really weird energy stuff going on, and then when everything happened this week, I was like, I mean, I was shocked, but my body kind of felt like it, like my body was prepared for it before I got the news.
Exactly. Just take it super
So
easy. Yeah, they keep on showing you at night. It's really difficult for you to lay down and like your brain starts running and it's like the breath thing, like so yeah, I think like light, they're telling me like light, like I know some classical jazz music before bed. It's so random, but that's what your guides are saying.
okay.
Just light, like almost before you're getting to bed when you're brushing your teeth. And I think that is gonna start calming your frequency a little bit. You do feel a
Okay.
little anxious. You run a little anxious to me.
Yeah,
So
lately.
whole and
Lately.
duh, like who isn't anxious right now? Like we all are. But yeah, that's the message from spirit.
Okay.
For Sam, um, this is so random. Are you into Diet Coke?
My mom is.
I was about to say, who in your life drinks a bunch of Diet Coke?
She just brought home like a 12 pack today from the grocery store.
Okay, that's your spirit guides were like, what's up with the Diet Coke?
Yeah,
Um,
more her than me.
okay, well, it might be for your mom. She needs to lay off the Diet Coke.
Okay, I'm gonna tell her. I've told her that before.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely for her. It's like they keep on telling me like that the soda thing is like actually hurting her digestion. And sometimes spirit does this where it's like connects to you because she was also like around at the beginning of the
Oh
session.
yeah. Hmm.
Um, but I think you can afford to drink a little more water too.
Oh yeah. I try. I do try. I wanna have some. I wish there was like a something that existed where you could put water in it and be like, give me more, like drink more, just like tell me what to do. But
Totally. Your thing, Sam, is you doubt yourself a little too much.
mm,
So spirit guides are saying like she doesn't even know how badass she is and she's like super
Mhm.
confident when she needs to turn it on. But I think in general, I think you can afford to like really own your shit, own who you are. Again, while waiting for the invitations. You
that's so
also have a
hard though. That's not fair because like if I'm really gonna own who I am, I'm gonna want to yell it from the rooftop.
hold
But
on. You can totally yell it from the rooftop. You can totally do that. And then someone will see you and invite you to a really cool opportunity. So you don't have to sit there and like be like, I'm just waiting all day. You being yourself, you honing your gifts is going to get you the invitation. So I don't like when projectors think they need to sit in the sidelines. Like, that is so not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be creating on the, like, and doing everything and putting it out there so that people can recognize you for who you are and then recognize your gifts and invite you to things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
that makes
know?
sense. Like what I'm doing now here a little bit, right?
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Like, you putting yourself on screen, both of you, is very vulnerable every week. You also wanting live readings, things like that. Like, people will know your shit real quick on the internet. So you guys being like, yo, like, we're learning, we're trying to understand what this is about, and being vulnerable there is already a step to get invitations for other people to be on your show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And do you have a little bit of a nervous stomach?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's almost like, yeah, I mean, I'll tell you a little bit off air, but it does feel like you do get like, if you get anxious or something, like, your stomach will, they're showing me again with the digestion thing that, like, just be really mindful of eating like a little more like fiber, whole foods and stuff, because otherwise, like, it will go the opposite way. It like feels like one day it's fine and one day it's not.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
Okay.
That's awesome. And for our watchers and our listeners during this crazy time, like what is there, even if there's something simple, which this is a bad example, like something with cinnamon or something with like this or that, like different, like if you can drink a tea, if you drink more water, like what can we do to kind of use this time to get more in tune with ourselves and our gifts?
Beautiful question. Two things. One, um, get off your phone, set a timer, less media, because I think we're getting really influenced easily by media stuff going on. And I think we can get caught up. Again, though, it's energy. Media is energy. You're inputting everything. You're comparing yourself. You are trying to be really politically correct. And then you're also trying to like hold your own. It's like there's so many things going on. And it's like, I'm damned if I do, I'm damned if I don't. I don't know what to do anymore. So that whole energy, including news media, is honestly making us more anxious. Secondly, go take a walk outside. That is like so simple. And I know I'm not a doctor, by the way. So like everyone's saying this, like just take it with a grain of salt. If it resonates, if cool, if not, no worries. But going outside and connecting with nature and even getting that vitamin D, that sun, is going to connect you close to spirit and close to self. We weren't meant to be locked up inside with little communication with people or the outside world. So even, obviously take your mask, like, take your hand sanitizer, whatever makes you feel safe, and keep your distance from people. But like, go for a walk without your freaking phone and see what your brain will think of. Or maybe it's running really anxious. Well, then when you're on the walk, run out those anxious thoughts and let them go, so that when you come back, you're like, oh, cool, I'm more present. So it's really about, like I said, getting off social media, or at least setting a timer. I set a timer for an hour for Instagram, and I set a timer on TikTok, which I'm like all over the TikTok. I love it. It's so funny and great. But again, it's like you're still getting other people's energy in every day and other people's opinions, and that's kind of like going to lead you away from your true self.
Oh, amazing. Steffi, I think we're both like obsessed. I'm not going to speak for Sari, but you are so awesome. And just want to thank you too to Taylor Ferber, our good friend.
Yes.
With
Yeah,
us.
I gave Taylor readings too, and I like that's how we connected.
Amazing. Where can everyone find you and reach out to you for all of it?
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm at spirit_sis. My business name is Spirit Sis. And you can find me on my website, and you can message me on there or book a service on my website. My calendar is all up, so you can book whenever time works for you. It's spiritsis.com.
Amazing. And everybody, please send our beautiful, lovely, good friend Sari so many good, positive vibes. I certainly am. And I also wanted to say, I really want to start engaging more with our watchers and our listeners and bringing you guys into some readings and stuff. So here's what we're going to do. please like rate on iTunes. Like give us a 5 stars, write us a little comment, and it just DM me and like send me a screenshot or the Instagram account, whichever that you did it, and we'll put you all on like a little raffle. And honestly, I'll probably just end up giving you all readings like with as many mediums as we have on. So but this is what we're gonna do. So we can engage more with you and like grow our show, and we appreciate it and love you. And thank you again, Steffi.
Of course. I offer giving oracle readings for, 5-star. If you want to have me back on, I will absolutely, I'll pitch into that.
Hell yeah. Thank you. And
yeah,
guys,
of course.
Thank you, Sam. Our wonderful host week after week.
Yay, Sam!
Yes.
You have to carry that. Oh, yeah.
Make sure to follow Spiritual Spiral at Spiritual Spiral Show on Instagram. You can find myself and Sari, SamD43, and the Savvy Scribbler. And we'll see you next week, guys. Thanks, everyone.